This is a mistake that forever changed how I managed people. In 2008, I was working as an attorney for a corporation. And the attorney that I reported to, who is the head of the department, was absolutely wonderful. Her name was Gina. She was fantastic, and she taught me a lesson that I will never forget. About a month into the job or so, I had a conversation with Gina. She said, "Aaron, I appreciate how you want to do things right, and in doing so, you ask a lot of questions. But Aaron, my brain only has the ability to make so many decisions per day. Let's say, for example, you are asking me to make 30 decisions every day, or asking me 30 questions every day. You're using up a portion of my mental capacity to make these decisions. I need you to think through the decisions yourself and do the heavy lifting yourself. So I'm going to ask you, whenever you come in to meet with me and ask me, what should I do about this? Instead say, Gina, here's what I recommend we do. Here are the factors I considered. And here's why I recommend this course of action. Then, when you bring these matters to me, I can think through, is there any outside information that you don't have? And is there any weakness in your analysis? But that's much less intellectual work than having to do the entire analysis myself. So she said, from this moment forward, please only come to me if you have to. And by the way, I trust your judgment. You can do a lot of these decisions on your own. After that, as I had questions for Gina, I would think through the factors needed to identify the recommendation I would have for Gina. I asked myself, what would I recommend to her? What are the factors I would weigh in making that recommendation? And perhaps what are the other options that are available? And after that analysis was done, I didn't need Gina's feedback. When I did go to Gina, I would say, Gina, here's my question. Here's my recommendation for the answer. Here are the factors I considered. Here are the options I considered. And so, in conclusion, I'd recommend this for these reasons. And she would either say, sounds great, do it, or, Aaron, there's some additional information here that we need to consider, and I actually want you to do this instead. But I'd say about 80 to 90% of the time, I had all the information needed, and Gina just said, go forward with it. That was a valuable lesson to me, because when I began managing a law firm, I started to realize a lot of people were coming to me and asking me questions or bringing problems to me. Somebody once said, think of every problem that an employee brings you as a monkey. And they say, hey, here's a problem. And we as managers, business owners, and CEOs may say, hey, we're pretty good at solving problems. We think we're pretty smart. We've gotten here so far. Let me solve that problem for you. It feels good for our ego. It feels good for our confidence. But when you solve an employee's problem and then essentially give that back to them, what happens is the employees learn that is the standard expectation. Bring the problems or bring the monkeys to the manager, and the manager will solve them and give them back. Here's the problem with that. Over time, as you have more and more employees, and they bring more and more problems, those employees bring those monkeys to you, and eventually you have a room full of monkeys. And I found that. I remember at one point, I would have a line of employees waiting out the door to come in and run things by me for the first hour or hour and a half every day when I came in. That is when I started to implement the lesson that Gina had exemplified for me years earlier. And I've now started asking everybody who works with me, what do you recommend we do? And often I tell them this little story of Gina. With all new employees, I tell them this story and I say, when you come to me with a question, would you please think through What are the options for solving this problem? What are the factors we should weigh in coming to the right option or solution? And then ultimately, which one do you recommend? There's another really powerful benefit from this. Rather than making the decision myself, the person who's closest to the problem is doing the analysis. And often they have more knowledge about the problem because they're on the front lines. Often managers are too far removed from the problem. So it is the person on the front lines who should be doing most of the analysis. Another benefit is you are empowering the people who work for you to become more capable, make better decisions, build their confidence, build their leadership skills, and ultimately help them be more effective in your business and in everything else they do in life. So, rather than us taking the problems and trying to solve them, I encourage you to start asking your employees, what would you recommend? And what is the analysis that brought you to that recommendation? Now, it won't take away every problem, but it moves a lot of the decision making to the person best equipped to make it. And that way, you as a manager are only scrutinizing the analysis to see if there's any additional information or analysis that needs to be brought to bear on the decision. So that is a valuable lesson that forever altered how I manage a team. I simply remind myself this little phrase, what do you recommend? And I actually will tell the people that I work with, if I ask you what do you recommend, this is a reference to this whole concept. And if you're not quite sure, that's okay. Go ahead and go back, analyze the situation, think about the options, select your recommended option, and go from there. I have also found that as an attorney, my clients love it when I do that. Instead of saying, hey client, here's a problem, I say, hey client, here's a problem, here are the options, these are the factors to weigh in selecting the best option based on your concerns and goals. Here's my recommendation. What do you think? And then the client can decide for themselves, is that the way they want to go? Or is there some additional information that needs to be factored into that decision? All right. If you would like to get notified about the next live session, you are welcome to subscribe to the Aaron Hall Attorney YouTube channel. You are welcome to subscribe to our little reminder email system at aaronhall.com/free. You can also sign up and follow us on other social media sites. I'm Aaron Hall, an attorney for business owners and entrepreneurial companies. It was a pleasure talking with you today and answering your questions from an educational perspective. As I always say, before you rely on any of this, consult with an attorney. It's my hope that you use these questions to identify topics and questions to bring up with your attorney. Until the next live session, I hope you are doing well. Take care.